Hi people, welcome back to my YouTube. It is your girl Honey. Welcome back people, welcome back. And those of you who are new here, welcome to my channel. Welcome. I am an astrologer. I live in the UK, and yes, I do readings. Yes, I do multiple different things, so please visit my website, Honey's Astro. Should you wish to keep up to date on anything I got going on, website people, website. Alright, so today we are talking a little bit about Saturn in the 5th house, Saturn return, Saturn natal, and Saturn transit. So make sure you are watching the video all the way through so you are completely aware of my interpretation of this placement. And please check the pinned comments. You can't come to YouTube and not check the comments. What? Check the pinned comments, people. So let's just talk a little bit about Saturn. Saturn is our rules, regulations, restrictions, responsibilities, self-limitation, fear, and also karma. Yes, he is the granddaddy of karma, okay? And when you think about the 5th house, which is the house associated with Leo, Leo's ruler is the sun. The 5th house represents our self-expression, creativity, performing arts, singing, dancing, acting, casual sex, dating. I actually look at this house as an all-round fun house. We also see children, pregnancies come through this house. Whenever I think about Saturn, I think about an old man or just an older person who completely looks down and judges everybody else. So this energy is placed in that 5th house, and it doesn't always necessarily mean you're the person judging everyone else. Saturn is a generational planet. So placed in that 5th house, you may have experienced other people around you, like your peers, your school friends, or whoever it was that may have judged you. And even now as an adult, the people who are around you, they are judging you. And as a child, this may have made you feel very insecure. You know, especially if Saturn is aspecting the ascendant, aspecting your sun, aspecting your Venus. You've got to look at the conditions of those planets as well to get more of an understanding as to how secure this person might actually be. But when Saturn is placed here, there are some issues with your confidence going on, but a lot of this is coming from the people around you, you know, that have maybe said things or done things that made you really question your capabilities. Like, am I not good enough? I just see a very small child at school who is struggling to fit in, who looks at their peers and thinks, damn, like I would love to be creative like that person and very expressive like that person. Like, why can't that be me? You may have had someone telling you that you're not very creative, or you may not have had that encouragement growing up. There may not have been a parent around or enough people around you that will give you that gas, yeah? That gas to kind of give you the boost to believe in yourself. So what we see is that there's a lot of learned behavior going on over the years where we see someone who just feels very incompetent, very fearful of, can I achieve? Can I really express myself? I have so many Capricorn in the 5th house people around me. Even for me as an Aries sun, you guys need to have Aries around you in your lives, because Aries people, especially a positive Aries by the way, but Aries people and people who have very heavy first houses, they are here to offer you a lot of confidence and to really gas you up. Even as these people get older, they may prefer to put their responsibilities ahead of fun. You know, if they've got chores to do, if they've got university studies to adhere to, they would rather get this done before they go out there and have fun. But one of my friends, right, close friend of mine, he's got Saturn in his 5th house. And like, I remember growing up and never seeing him at the clubs. We never saw him at the clubs, ever. He was always at home on social media doing the weird stuff like MySpace days. It was weird. And it wasn't until I think we must have reached our later teens, maybe like 18, 19, where he started to go out a lot more, but he completely missed like this really important era. Amazing, those years. But I remember my friend, he just was not leaving the house. And he wasn't necessarily a recluse, but he was very serious about making music, and now he produces a lot of music for a lot of well-known British rappers. And it's crazy that, you know, the hard work that he put in back then, it's very much turned into a reward now as the adult. However, he did miss out quite a lot. And it's crazy because I remember like back in the day, like asking him, why won't you just come out? And he would just say, because I'm busy, I've got things to do. And I'm thinking, you haven't even got a job. What have you got to do? You know, we also thought maybe it was because his parents were really strict at the time. And sometimes we do find a very strict dad or a very strict parent who may enforce you to kind of pay more attention to your work, to your chores, studies, before you go out there and start partying with whoever and whoever. But another thing as well, I don't want to say this is a spiritual placement either, because this is a superficial house. It's the house of the sun, right? House of Leo. However, I do look at it as when you spend more time alone, and especially if you do have like aspects in your 12th house or your 9th house even, or a beautiful trine to Jupiter or Uranus in your 9th house, you are likely to be that person who has a lot of these conspiracy theories, or I don't even like saying conspiracy theories because a lot of the time they are quite true most of the time, but a lot of these belief systems that most of the people around you don't believe. So there's no point socializing, going out to meet people, because what you believe, they don't quite understand it. So you're wasting your time going out and having superficial fun. But because you spend a lot more time on your own when Saturn's placed here, there's a lot more need for you to search for reasons why am I so insecure? And it's mad because every single person that I know that has Saturn in the 5th house is talented. Whether it be in poetry, in writing, in acting, in singing, in dancing, in perform. Like, honestly, Saturn in the 5th house people, you guys have perfected what you are supposed to do. But I feel like the issue that you guys have is you guys don't do enough with it. You guys have so much insecurities and fears of how other people might perceive you. You don't push your work out there. And you see everyone else, you know, pushing their work, and you're like, oh, I want to do that. Why don't you? What's stopping you? Just get it done. The only person stopping you from doing it is you. Now let's talk a little bit about love. Yes, people, this is the house of love, romance. And a lot of people that deal with Saturn play, and also sex, okay, casual sex as well. A lot of people that have Saturn placed in this house are dealing with issues in love. Yeah. And it's not that you guys will never get married or never ever be in love. Plenty of you guys experience love. But there is a fear going on with, I feel like a lot of it is rejection based as well. And rejection based can be so dampening to your confidence. You may fear being told by someone that they are not interested in you, in dating you. And it's so crazy. There's a lot of you guys that I do know personally, and you guys will hover, you know, around your crush and create a really good friendship with them and more establish a foundation, which I personally like. But when it comes to coming to the forefront now of saying, you know what, this is what I like. This is what I want from you. This is what I want from my relationships. I also say, look at the condition of the sun, the condition of Venus, the condition of the moon, and also Mercury, because all of that will contribute to what's happening in this 5th house. A lot of people deal with retrogrades, which is misdirected energy, which goes completely against how it's supposed to go. So people don't really know how to push themselves forward when it comes to dating, which becomes, again, problematic. So there is a major fear of rejection. And you know what? This actually stops a lot of people from pursuing relationships. Now, Saturn is also linked to arrangements, agreements, mutual benefits. So we see becoming like a friends with benefits situation. Now, what happens if someone starts to develop feelings and it's the Saturn in the 5th house person? Over time, we see feelings start to develop, but this person may choose to pull themselves back, you know, because if things aren't going, in the direction that they would like it to go, it's now, okay, I'm afraid that I might be rejected. I'm afraid to hear that this person isn't quite into me how I thought they were. So I'm now going to take a step back. Now, I do understand that, because as an Aries sun, you know, I have an ego, but every single sign has an ego. But when it comes to the 5th house, which is associated with Leo, especially those who have a 5th degree Saturn, there's a lot to do with a fear surrounding rejection, so a fear surrounding someone not liking you, being embarrassed and humiliated. So what we see is it's like you like to control that to prevent you from feeling that feeling of rejection. And also, people, let me just give you some advice, okay? Just some free advice. If you are a single person and you are dating and someone asks you, what do you do for fun? The most irritating question, because it makes you reflect on, I'm so boring because I don't have anything that I do for fun. But it's okay, honey's got you. You could easily say to them, I absolutely love binge watching documentaries about crime. And then even like, if it's like reality TV, you get a lot of inspiration from these programs, because you also implement your own characters. You could be a writer, you could be writing your own characters, and these reality stars give you inspiration. You like to write, and suddenly it's a new conversation. So it's about just like, I'm a Gemini rising, so I like to think on my feet, honey. But my point is, it's kind of about you, I don't want to say pretending, but you're being truthful, but you have to exaggerate it, because these are people who you're getting to know, and you want to make yourself sound as interesting as possible. And when Saturn is placed in here, you guys will literally say, oh, I don't really do anything. Nothing's going on with me. That's not how you date at all. You need to kind of also do a lot more exploring. So surround yourself with people that like to go out to different types of restaurants, like to try different activities. Like if you literally research in your area, top 20 things to do in your area, type it into Google, go into Facebook, go into TikTok even, right? Go anywhere, and trust and believe you will find that there are multiple things to do. You try and do one thing twice a month, and you will gain all of this interest, these things that you tried. But if you want to plan a date, you tried all of these 10 things before, so you have an idea of where to take your date. A lot of Saturn in the 5th house people never have date suggestions, which makes it kind of hard, because, you know, I personally like, when I was single anyway, I personally liked my man to select a date based on what's interesting for me. You know, I personally like that. Then I would plan the next date if it goes to the next date. But my point is, it's about you kind of taking the initiative and being confident with it, and don't worry about, will they like it? Are they gonna, it's not about them right now, okay? It's about how you can date with purpose and date properly. It may also feel like it's, and remember what I'm saying, this is the planet of karma. So look at your situation and think about, okay, I'm going to take accountability, not take control, but take accountability. And in a way, that's a way of taking control of yourself, but not the situation. Does that make sense? When you start to take accountability of why you're not expressive, of why you keep on fearing rejection and not knowing how to date accordingly, it becomes energy that moves with ease. So you start to date properly, for one. You then start to create and start to feel confident in yourself, and there is not that fear. Because that same fear that you have is energy. This is energy that is transferable, people. If you are fearing your direction, you know, in terms of like, you can literally have Saturn in conjunct your midheaven. If you're afraid of failure, you're afraid of success, you're never going to get to where you want to be, because you've got to jump over that hurdle. And trust and believe, it can take you up until what, your late 20s. Once you go through your Saturn return, I do feel the 28th year is extremely important to you guys in terms of you kind of combating this fear by taking more accountability for what's happening and starting to move forward, you know, moving forward. In terms of children, I've read quite a few people that do have Saturn placed here and also Capricorn in here as well. This is my same response from most people depending on the condition of your moon. We can definitely have children, 100% have kids. However, having children may be something that you may choose to plan. You may choose to plan your life, so you want to be married, you want to have multiple properties, earning over 100 grand a year in your job, traveling all over the world before you choose to have children. We see that all the time. And that's why we see having kids a lot later on in life. Or even having one child and then not having another one for years, or not having another one at all. Or we see someone who may choose not to have kids. And every single person that I read that has Saturn placed here, depending on the condition of your moon, I will tell you what's going to happen accordingly. But most of the time, it goes down the route of you either may choose not to have kids, or you may have a child and you may not have one after that, or have a very long gap between them, or you have them later on in life. We can also find that there's like a heavy responsibility, like children become a burden, you know? It kind of feels like I'm unable to create and be expressive like I was before because my kids come first now. My kids need me a lot more than I need to be creative. So children, for a lot of people who have Capricorn and Saturn in their 5th house, it's a higher duty of responsibility that you guys have. And let me just say this, please listen to me, please. If you're gonna have a child, be very mindful about the kind of person you have a child with. Because remember, Saturn is karmic. So if you have Saturn placed in here, you may be a single parent. You may be a single parent. You may be a part-time parent. But whatever it is the person who you sleep with, they can leave you with the karma of a child because they may choose to go and do their own thing or never be around or whatever it might be. But that can happen. Not for everybody, of course. But when Saturn is here, that child, it now feels like a burden. You know, my child's dad is out there, he's partying in Miami spring break, you know, and I'm stuck here with my child. It's not fair. You've got to take accountability. If you don't want this to happen to you again, the next time you want a child, what can you do different? That's all it's asking you to do. Take accountability. Now, in terms of Saturn return, this happens every 28, 29 or so years. And everyone has to go through at some point in their lives, okay? But it can be a very difficult time for a lot of us. Everyone's Saturn time will be different from the next person. So please, you guys, look at the aspects to your natal Saturn. I also do Saturn return readings on my website, so feel free to book that with me should you wish for more information. When Saturn returns back to its home placement in the 5th house, it can be a very difficult time. And I need you guys to clock the degree of your natal Saturn. If your Saturn is at 10 degrees, right? And Saturn is transiting through at 10 degrees, it has to go retrograde. You're gonna be hit when Saturn touches your natal Saturn, but once it goes over your natal Saturn, it's also got to go back again and retrograde, and then go direct over your natal Saturn again. So most people tend to get hit 3 times most of the time during a 9-month period of their Saturn return. But we are likely to experience some issues in terms of children. I've read for quite a few women who have experienced their Saturn return where they may have some fertility issues, which it could be discovering a fibroid, being diagnosed with endometriosis, having cysts, being diagnosed with infertility, anything to do with that region, because when Saturn's approaching, it's more of a feeling of, okay, I want to have a child now. I want to be a parent. And in some cases, some women end up being mothers. Some end up being pregnant but not following through full term. Saturn brings a reality check. So those women who don't always become mothers, and even the men who don't become fathers through terminations, through abortions, or through miscarriages, it actually makes a lot of people feel like, okay, I know what I want now. I now know that I want to have kids, maybe in the future, maybe after this. For me to have kids, I've got to take my health seriously. I've got to take my relationship seriously. I've got to look at my life. Have I achieved what I want to achieve? If I haven't, what can I do? There's just more of a reality check in what's happening in this house and how you are dating. And remember, this is the house of karma. So if you are out here going raw, bareback, yeah, with everybody and anybody, this house will show you karma by either giving you a child with a awful person, or maybe giving you a pregnancy that you don't even want. There's going to be a lot in terms of Saturn delivering the reality. Now, even if you do already have kids, right? When Saturn transits into your 5th house, even returning towards your natal Saturn, there may be an issue with your child that comes up, you know. Like, I've found people to deal with, you know, a child having some issues in school, a child, and this could be in terms of bullying, this can be in terms of education, this can be in terms of health issues, but there can definitely be something that that child may be struggling with. And what I also recommend is have a look at the transit of Saturn in your child's chart. You know, so if your child happens to have natal Saturn in their 3rd house, and the transit Saturn may now be in their 6th house, you know, maybe they're having to change. Maybe they've just finished key stage 1, they're going into key stage 2, which is a different part of the school. Maybe they're having to change their daily routines, their uniforms change, things are changing and they're struggling with the change. So it could literally be anything, but I guarantee if you look at the transit of Saturn in your child's chart, you'll probably put 2 and 2 together to see where you can kind of help them and support them a little bit better. Sometimes as well, we can experience breakups. Breakups can be horrendous, like horrendous, people. This is the house of Leo, so, you know, you can have a very expressive or a very explosive breakup where it's very dramatic and everyone knows about it. It could also be humiliating. And I remember, even for me, like, several years ago, 10 years ago, I went through a really bad breakup from a platonic relationship, and it was embarrassing because we were very public with our relationship, but we hadn't kind of let everybody else know. And he decided to let people know by taking a picture by grabbing someone's booty in a nightclub. And everyone's asking, are you and so-and-so together? And I was humiliated. But you see, when we broke up, I actually had Saturn at 29 degrees transit through Libra in my 5th house. The 29th degree is obviously a critical degree, but it's when things come to an end, when you reach the 29th degree, when the planet is expressing itself in its full potency. And it's so mad because there were a few people around me who also broke up with their partner in the same 2 weeks of Saturn being around the 29th, on the 29th degree. And then even in terms of creativity and self-expression, even during your Saturn return, there could be something that happens that stops you from being creative. Even during transit-wise, something can stop you from being expressive and very creative, but the whole point of this is for you to work harder in order for you to kind of be rewarded by Saturn. Because once you learn to work alongside Saturn, you're going to be rewarded for your hard efforts and your work, for taking accountability but still getting through it. So whenever I look at Saturn in the 5th house, I look at you guys as people who need to do a lot of work on yourselves, work towards being a lot more expressive and a lot more confident, and also producing or presenting your work and not caring about what anyone has to say. Don't worry about the criticism. Don't worry about it. Because when you have an Aries friend like me, they will gas you up all day, every day, okay? So people, that is my video. I hope you guys have thoroughly enjoyed it. Please make sure you guys click that like, subscribe, share, comment, and I will see you guys next time, people. Take care. Bye-bye.